about how you can get rooted in your local community just by telling your story. Obviously, the only way I can do that is by telling you mine. About 3 years ago, I graduated from college with a degree in creative writing, which was awesome to study and not translatable to the real world at all. But I was really excited, like super happy. The world is my oyster. Couldn't wait to get out there and be a grown-up and just get started, because I'd been told my entire life that I could be whatever I wanted to be. I could be the president of the United States, cure cancer, be an astronaut, an actress, anything, really. I was special and I was unique. And everybody else was told the same thing. And also, I sort of came into my own at a time when social media was huge. So not only was I important, but I always had an audience. I was always able to tell somebody my story and they were going to listen. But the thing about social media is, while it has a lot of potential for connection, it sometimes falls short. So had I actually listened to my commencement speech, I would have heard probably the same thing that everybody heard last weekend, which is, if you work hard enough and follow your dreams, you too can have your own television show. And while these messages are really inspiring, they can also be a little bit destructive, because you can feel pretty solitary when you've come to believe that you're the only person responsible for your success. When you get to the real world and you fall and you fail, you're all alone. And that's hard, and that's sad, and it's scary. And so this is kind of what I looked like when I got to the real world. No idea where the ground was, hair in my face, kind of lost, totally afraid. And so I did the only thing I knew how to do, which was run away. So I moved abroad, and I lived in Europe for a year. And I fell in love and drank a ton of wine and traveled around and learned a language and ran out of money and missed my family. So I came home. And I decided that Fort Collins was way too small for me. I was a big fish in a really little pond. There was no outlet in this place for me to live up to all of that potential that I had always been told that I had. And I think that that sense of rootlessness is kind of epidemic to people like me in my generation. Because the longer you stick around, the more you're forced to see the consequences of your decisions and your actions, whether they're good or bad. And so, you know, we're picking up and we're going. But I stuck around. 2 years later, I'm still here. Don't know what I'm doing. But the Coloradoan, I asked them to give me a column, and somehow miraculously they did. And I found myself being strangely brave and admitting that I'm really bad at this. I fail a lot, I mess up, and Fort Collins went from being a really aesthetically beautiful community to like a community to me. People were emailing me all the time, and they were saying, girl, you're fine. Like, you'll figure it out. We were there too. You're not alone. A lot of times it was like 40, 50, 60-year-old people who were pretty much pointing at me and laughing and saying, get used to it, sister. You're never going to figure it out, because there is no it. But the cool thing about my column was not only was I admitting when I was messing up, but I got to talk about my strengths and my passions. And my passions were those dreams that everyone was telling me to follow, and my strengths were the tools that I needed to get there. And the more I talked about them, the more I recognized that they existed, but the more other people in the community recognized them too. And so we saw moments where my strength could offset somebody else's weakness, and vice versa. And we could really help each other build things, which is what everybody's been talking about tonight. I mean, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, I think, a little bit. But I started to put roots down. So I'm still failing. I didn't get into grad school. I'm terrible with money. Relationships fall apart. I mean, you can never guess when these things are going to happen, but I've got this group of people around me who are going to help me get through that. And I'm going to do that for them. So no matter how irredeemable it seems, and how much it feels like you cannot pick up the pieces, if you admit it and you tell your story, somebody's going to help you do that. And that's pretty powerful. So I think the bravest thing that you can do is tell your story, and do it in a way that's genuine and sincere, and listen to other people when they tell theirs, and continue to relate to one another, because that's how we recognize each other's humanity. I'm really bad at it still. If you look at my email inbox, I have like dozens of emails from people that I haven't written back to, that are just reminding me that I'm not a grown-up yet. I'm working on it. But I'm going to build on Tam's challenge. I'm going to say, talk to a stranger, but tell them your story. Be honest about it. Listen to theirs and see what happens. Thank you.